So you need to ask, how would your company respond to an employee making a racially charged comment? Well, that same employee discipline needs to be done for inappropriate gay jokes or slurs. And that needs to be communicated to your staff during the training. And again, it doesn't live in a vacuum. You just can't say that you're going to punish anyone that makes a gay jokes. What you really need to say is that any kind of joke like this, be it racial, about gay jokes, jokes about a person's weight or age or sexuality, this is never accepted within this hotel. This is a hotel that is open to diversity. This is a hotel that really wants to treat everyone with dignity and respect. And in your training, you need to really make that really clear, is that in this hotel, it can never be said. It can't be said around guests. It can't be said to other people. Okay. We're going to move on to concierge a little bit. This is just a little ad that we did actually for the TAGApproved program years ago, but it's sort of that classic example of two gay couple checking in and the person behind the front desk not acting appropriately. This is really, really common when gays and lesbian couples checked in, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I know as an active traveler out there, I really haven't had much problems with me and my partner checking in recently. It's actually been handled pretty well almost everywhere I check in, but it still happens sometimes and something to be addressed with your front desk staff. So at the front desk, obviously it's a place to make a first impression, and you can't make assumptions about your guests coming in. So you may have two men standing in front of you, and you have really no idea. They could be gay partners. They could be straight coworkers. They could be brothers. They could be both gay, but not in a relationship. They could just be friends, and the last thing in the world they want to be doing is sharing a bed. So how do you know? Well, I guess the best way to know is just to ask, and you ask without judgment, and you ask in a tone that's consistent, no matter if it's a straight couple or gay couple standing in front of you. Now, hopefully you have a system in place that allows the person to request the bed type before they even get to the front desk. But sometimes people are just checking in, off the street, or sometimes there's some confusion in the record. So the best thing to do there is don't make assumptions, treat everyone the same, and without attitude, without assumption, without influence, reconfirm the accommodation type booked and ask if it's acceptable. I think here tone is everything. Your front desk should feel absolutely comfortable booking gay couples without, making any changes or changes in tone or awkward expressions. So when I'm checking in today, the language that's used is almost perfect, almost all the time. What the person will say is, thank you, Mr. Paisley and Mr. Marshall. I see you've booked a king bed. Will that be okay for this evening? Or something like that. Language is usually okay. They're just checking in on the confirmation, no big deal. But sometimes I do get the sort of, oh, you're gay expression. And even though the language is perfect, the expression on the face is still a little bit surprised. So that's something to just, I think, role play with your front desk staff, is that they probably want to role play that with checking in. It doesn't have to be a part of a broad diversity training. It really needs to be part of the front desk training. But just make sure your front desk staff are just totally comfortable with it, so they don't give you that sort of, oh, you're the first gay couple I've ever checked in expression, which does still sometimes happen to me to some degree. And obviously, there can be some misinterpretations. There can be some problems with the front desk. So the key here is, again, the person just needs to fix misinterpretations with ease. They need to do it in a tone that's just consistent no matter what's going on. Okay, at the concierge, gay friendly also means gay knowledgeable. So your concierge needs to know what's going on in the local gay community and also be able to anticipate the follow-up questions. So, you need to be asking things like the location. The concierge needs to know things like the location of gay bars, gay cafes, other events. Are there places to avoid in your community? There may well be. Resources for gay festivals and events. It would be good to have resources on hand, so having things like fun maps or the local gay newspaper or the local gay business chamber directory. Having a few of these behind the concierge desk might be a really good touch in order to let the person know that you are very much a gay-friendly hotel. But also knowing the follow-up questions. Like, it's more than just knowing that there are 3 gay bars in your town. Who goes to these gay bars? Is one gay bar much more popular with young people? Maybe another bar is much more popular with women. You probably should know this, because say if you have 2 women standing in front of you who want to know where the local gay bar is, and then you send them down the street to a bar that's mostly, like 25-year-old guys, Well, maybe that's not appropriate when if they would have walked just a few more blocks, there's a bar that's much more women-friendly. So knowing those follow-up questions and really understanding your local gay community is important. But it's also important to understand that for someone like me who lives and works in the Castro, San Francisco, when I go on vacation, usually the last thing I want to know is, or go to, is another gay hub. I have a tendency to travel in places that are more rural and more sort of outdoor adventure-oriented, where I'm not expecting that there's any gay infrastructure whatsoever. I'm not expecting there to be a gay bar. But perhaps in that community there's a gay beach. Perhaps in that community there is a cafe down the street that's run by a gay couple or an art gallery. Knowing that kind of information, again, I think can really impress your gay and lesbian guests. I also want to say that gay-friendly is all departments. And here's a little example. Thomas Roth is the president here at Community Marketing. He travels with his partner, Scott, all the time. So here's an example of a card that he once got when he checked into a major resort. And it said, "Dear Mr. and Mrs. Thomas Roth," even though he checked in with his partner, Scott, and it was clearly indicated on the he was clearly indicated on the reservation. When he got to the front desk, it was handled perfectly okay and wonderful, but when he got to his room, here was a bottle of wine welcoming him with this little card. So what does that say? Well, I think ultimately it says is that your property may be very gay-friendly, and you've trained your sales staff, and you've trained your front desk staff and your concierge, but maybe you haven't changed every department. So somewhere along the line there was a miscommunication with whoever typed out this card, and unfortunately, it didn't ruin Tom's vacation. It was fine, but it still gives the impression sometimes that maybe the property is not as gay-friendly as they should be. It really should say, welcome Mr. Roth and Mr. Torgan. All right, a little bit about transgender concerns. Within policies, you need to understand that sexual orientation and gender identity are two separate things, and both should be in your non-discrimination policies. Transgender refers to a broad range of people who experience and express their gender differently from what most people expect. And it's really an umbrella term, which includes people who are genetically gender nonconforming, and it's just very much an umbrella term that sort of applies to a lot of different people who are gender nonconforming. You need to understand that the population for the transgender community is relatively small. It's hard to really estimate it, but some people estimate it between 1/2 to 1% of the total population. But you do also need to understand that transgender people experience really a high level of discrimination, much more so than the gay and lesbian community. So it is something to really look at your hotel. That I think for a lot of people in the community, they've sort of gotten by the whole gay and lesbian thing, and that they're really cool with gay and lesbian people, but they still have some concerns, and there's still a lot of discrimination sometimes within the transgender community. I'd even say there's a lot of discrimination with the transgender community, even amongst gays and lesbians themselves. So it's something that I think the hotels need to pay some